When Toyota introduced the Rush in 2018, it answered the Pinoy buyer's need for a macho-looking vehicle that can seat 7 and won't break the bank. It's basically a beefed-up Avanza, and it appeals to the market's general desire to drive a beefier-looking vehicle, or at least an MPV that looks like an SUV. In this video, we check out the refreshed Toyota Rush 1.5 GAT, and after which, we get to drive it. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car review. If you're new to my channel, I hope you hit that subscribe button and become part of the Reagan Strides family. If you're my subscriber already, thank you so much for your support by watching this video. I also hope that you give it a like. Also, special thanks to Toyota Valenzuela for this awesome opportunity to feature the Toyota Rush 1.5 GAT. If you're within the area of Valenzuela and you have a need for any Toyota vehicle, well, head on down here to Toyota Valenzuela and check out the newest and bestest Toyota dealership in the metro. If you have any inquiries at all for anything Toyota, you may also contact the person in my description below. The Toyota Avanza has long held the fort when it comes to affordable MPVs for Toyota, so why did they bring in the brawnier and sportier looking Toyota Rush in 2018? Well, it was Toyota's answer to Honda's introduction of the BRV, and it proved to be a fantastic move. Now, despite being just a year old in the market, the Rush went on to become the 10th best-selling vehicle in 2019, and it outsold the Toyota Avanza by twice as much and the competitor, the BRV, by 4 times as much. So what sort of secret magic sauce does this Toyota Rush have? That's what we'll try to find out in this video. Now what I have here is a Toyota Rush 1.5 GAT, which is the top spec model, and it retails for 1,100,000 Philippine pesos. Now that's quite affordable for a 7-seater MPV, so let's see how it stacks up against the competition, especially those budget crossovers coming from the Middle Kingdom. That's China, in case you didn't get it. Now when you take a first glance at the Rush, you'll see that it shares the same look as the Fortuner, except it's got some baby fat at the edges. Now they don't call it the baby Fortuner for nothing, yeah? It shares the same headlight design as the Fortuner, although the front grille looks pretty similar to the ones found in the Honda CRV. Now these headlights are already LED units and you've got LED DRLs, which is a mild surprise, especially since we're talking about a Toyota at this price point. Now, a design cue that I find really cool are the hood lines that you can get here, and you've got some nice bulges on your hood as well. It looks like it houses a turbo underneath there, or maybe it's just happy to see me. Now, the front bumper also has these angular cutouts, which houses your halogen fog lights. And overall, when you look at the front fascia of this Rush, it doesn't even look like an MPV. It looks like an SUV and throws off an SUV vibe that scores a lot of brownie points, at least in my book. Now, the side profile of the Rush continues on with that SUV vibe. From the clamshell hood, to the body lines, to even the black plastic cladding that you've got here, they all spell mini SUV. Now, this top-spec Toyota Rush has power folding side mirrors with LED side repeaters, and you also have this nice-looking matte black roof rail up top. It looks pretty good on this car. Now, for your wheels and tires, you get sporty 17-inch wheels here that are wrapped in 215/60 R17 tires. Now, one of the biggest selling points of the Rush is the high ground clearance. It has one of the highest, or if not the highest, ground clearance in the MPV segment at 220 millimeters. Now, that's squarely in SUV territory already, and it should provide some form of peace of mind, especially for people who live in flood-prone areas in the metro. Now, if the front of the Rush looks like a CRV with Fortuner eyes, the rear end is purely a Toyota. You get this nice plastic design here on the sides of your rear glass, which along with your sporty rear spoiler, frames that rear glass quite well. The taillights are also designed like a Toyota because these taillights are pretty similar to the ones found in the RAV4, the Corolla Cross, and the Toyota Fortuner. Now, your rear bumpers are made of black plastic, and this is pretty much a concession to cost, but at least the middle part of that rear bumper is painted in a nice silver paint, which gives off more of that SUV vibe. Now, pop open the manual liftgate, You see that you have a manual liftgate here, not really a big issue. It's pretty much expected in this MPV segment. You get around 213 liters of trunk space if you're using the third row seats. Now, 213 liters may not seem like much, but it will still fit a medium-sized luggage, and I'll prove it to you. I have here my medium-sized luggage, and as you can see, it fits quite comfortably inside the trunk space of this Toyota Rush, and you still have some space at the sides. Now, if 213 liters is not enough, you could always tumble down the third row seats, and by doing that, you'd get access to over 500 liters of trunk space. Now, that should be enough to give you space for 1, 2, and 3 medium-sized luggage, a fourth one on top, and a fifth one on the side of it. So that's around 5 medium-sized luggage that you can fit inside, well, your Toyota Rush, as long as the third row seats are tumbled forward. Now, that is one of the big advantages of an MPV, that cavernous trunk capacity. And another big advantage of the Rush over, let's say, the Fortuner, is the fact that the third row seats tumble forward instead of folding to the side, like the ones found in the Fortuner. Now, for me, that is a clear winner. Now, all Rush variants in the country are powered by the same engine, and that's, well, a 1.5-liter four-cylinder petrol engine that's good for 101 horses and 134 Newton-meters of torque. Now, power is sent to the rear wheels via a 4-speed automatic transmission. That's right, guys. True to its SUV nature, this Toyota Rush is an actual rear-wheel drive vehicle. Now, you could also spec this in a 5-speed manual transmission, but you'll have to opt for the base variant or the lower variant. The quoted fuel economy figures for this baby comes in at around 8 to 9 kilometers per liter in the city to around 14 kilometers per liter in the highway. Now, that's pretty decent for a 7-seater MPV. Well, the Rush is an entry-level SUV, and as such, the cockpit is basic, simple, and straightforward, yet it is still quite functional. You get fabric seats here. The top spec variant doesn't get leather seats. Not really a big issue. At least the seat fabric material used is quite decent and quite soft. Now, the steering wheel is leather wrapped though, but the leather that's been used is purely on the durable side. You can't really expect a plush leather steering wheel here, especially at this price point. Now, the steering wheel does have some hands-free buttons here, but if you're looking for cruise control, well, forget about it. You don't get that also at this price point. Now, for instrument gauges, you have an analog system here, very basic, straightforward, functional. You do get some blue design accents there for a little bit more class and taste. And from your gauges, you have a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system here that doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You can hook your phone up via Bluetooth though, or phone mirroring, so at least there's that. And another mild surprise that I noticed with this infotainment system is the fact that, well, it comes with the reverse camera. Yes, in a Toyota, we have a reverse camera and rear parking sensors. Now, that is a nice surprise coming from, well, a Toyota vehicle. Now, another good thing about this top spec Rush is you get an 8-speaker sound setup, so the audio experience should be quite good. Well, you just have to take my word for it, guys, because I couldn't really play any music, especially in this YouTube video. Now, from your infotainment system, you've got a nice single-zone climate control system here, and you also have, well, no center armrest found here in the middle. However, instead of a center armrest, you get 3 cup holders. That's right, guys, 3 cup holders. Now, pair that with a couple of bottle holders found here on both sides of your doors, and that's actually 7 drink holders already just here in the front. And you've got, well, 4 drink holders in the second row and another 2 in the back. So that comes up to 13 drink holders inside your Toyota Rush. Now, the Rush is meant for 7 passengers, and you've got 13 drink holders. So that's normally something that I see in a Ford, not in a Toyota. But you have it here in the Toyota Rush, and that's pretty cool, guys. Now, the thing is, although you have 13 cup holders, it all fails in my clean canteen test. So they're too small, and as you can see, none of these cup holders or drink holders, even the bottle holders on the door panels, can fit my clean canteen flask. So it's an absolute fail when it comes to my clean canteen test. You'll probably have to keep your drinks on a smaller size to make use of these cup holders and drink holders. Now, when you look at the whole cockpit area, the materials used in this Toyota Rush, you'll get a lot of hard plastics all around. The dashboard, the door panels, these are all hard plastics. The good thing here though is, well, Toyota threw in a white plastic design here at the bottom part that's stitched and made to look like white leather. Now this may pass in an Instagram photo, but in real life when you touch them, well, tough luck guy, it's actually white hard plastic. You do get some chrome accents here also, and I like the quirky design that they did with these side AC vents. They look like, well, the chest piece of Iron Man, believe it or not, when it's closed. Yeah, so overall, yeah, this is all made of hard plastics, but on the bright side, guys, at least the interior of the Rush will be so durable that it could even outlast maybe you, the driver. Now, the second row seats of the Toyota Rush is pretty spacious, and I like the fact that the second row is slightly elevated versus the driver in the front passenger seat. This is more like a theater style seating, so that gives me a little bit more, well, atmosphere and allows me to see forward better here from the second row. Now guys, I'm 5'6", and as you can see, I got a good amount of space here. My knee room is around 10, 11 inches before I touch the seat back. This is my normal driving position, but the headroom is a little bit cramped. I'm looking at only around 4.5 inches before my head would touch the headliner. The good thing here though is the second row can also be slid forward like this, so that way the poor souls on the third row can have a little bit more breathing space. When I do that though, the knee room shrinks from nearly a foot to around 5 inches, which is still pretty decent, and given the fact that I'm in a theater style seating, it doesn't really feel too cramped even with my seat slid forward like this. Now for toys, you get a row of AC vents here with its own blower control. You just get 3 AC vents there, and you have several cup holders as I mentioned. You've got a cup holder here that's similar to the placement found in the Corolla Cross cup holder, and also a bottle holder underneath there. You also have a 12-volt charging outlet here for your charging duties, guys. And yeah, overall, this is pretty decent for a second row. So now let's see what kind of space and toys we can see in the third row of the Toyota Rush. Now accessing the third row is pretty easy. All you have to do is hit the latch here and the seat would immediately tumble forward like this. So you can now get in and sit in your third row. Now I'm quite surprised with the third row seat of the Toyota Rush. This is still an MPV after all, and it's based off the Avanza, so I expected that the third row would be a little bit more spacious than what I'm getting now. I mentioned to you I'm 5'6", and although my knee doesn't touch a seat back, the second row is already slid a little bit forward, which impinges on the legroom of the person up front. I'm still getting around 3 inches of knee room here, and for my headroom, I only have around 3 inches as well. I guess it's the way that the roof is shaped. It gives me a little bit of a claustrophobic feeling here at the back, and not like what I've experienced with the other MPVs that I've reviewed. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointment that how tight the third row seats of this Toyota Rush is. It's actually even tighter than the third row of the Toyota Fortuner, and that's kind of weird because it's an MPV. Now you get some toys here though. You get a couple of cup holders on both sides, a couple of pockets there for your cell phones, and you also have a 12-volt outlet here for charging duties. Now let's get out of this cramped spot and go back to the driver's seat so that we'll take this Toyota Rush for a drive and see how it performs on the road. Alright guys, so we're now behind the wheel of the Toyota Rush. Now this is the demo unit of Toyota Valenzuela, so it's not really the most updated model, but the drivetrain, the underpinning, suspension, the engine, everything is the same, so we would be able to get the same driving experience with the newer models now. Now having said that guys, we'll start off with the seats. The seats of the Rush, I've noticed, is a little bit on the tight side. There is some good bolstering on your thighs and on your back. And given the fact that I am an average Asian, guys, well, I'm quite surprised by how tight the seats feel, even for myself, even for my build. This is pretty tight. So if you're a bigger person than me, you might find this a little bit more uncomfortable, just like the traffic that I am seeing right now in front of me. Wow, we've got to find a better route for this drive impression. All right, glad I was able to get out of that traffic situation. Now, once you're able to get comfortable in your seat, you'll notice that the visibility is also pretty decent. Despite being a smaller an MPV and not an SUV, I do have a nice view of the road. I feel like I'm riding in a taller vehicle than what the Rush actually suggests. Maybe it's owed to the fact that you have a higher ground clearance. I don't know, I think it's that one. Yeah, but you've got a nice visibility up front and you've got nice side visibility as well. Now let's try to accelerate a little bit. Ah. All right, and when it comes to acceleration, guys, it's not gonna blow your pants off, okay? This is still just 101 horses, guys, so it's a little bit down on power. And yeah, in terms of acceleration, yeah, don't expect it to give you the goods because it won't give you any. It would excel in the fuel economy area, but not really in the acceleration area. And that's, well, something that's expected in the MPV mark, in the MPV class. The good thing though is the 4-speed automatic does have a good amount of, well, torque down low. So that should help me with this kind of stop-and-go city traffic that we're going in now. Now while I'm stuck in Valenzuela traffic, I might as well tell you about the climate control system. The climate control is pretty decent. It's quite cold here. It's nice that you have an automatic climate control system here. So, you know, just power up and put it in the temperature and you're good to go. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure the passengers at the rear part will have a cool ride as well because, well, you've got a decent amount of AC vents at the back. So that's also a good thing. And since we're still crawling in traffic, I might as well tell you about the safety features of this Toyota Rush. Now, the Rush is a class leader when it comes to safety features. This top spec model has 6 airbags, guys. 6 airbags in the MPV segment. And you've got stability control, traction control. You've got ABS with EBD. So this baby is chock full loaded with safety features, and that is a fantastic thing. All right, the road is clearing up a little bit ahead, so I'm gonna do another acceleration run. Let's try it. Yeah. Come on, give me the goods. Okay, yeah. It accelerates like an MPV, not like an SUV, still like an MPV, guys. It still doesn't accelerate like an SUV. Well, it looks like an SUV, rides like an SUV, but it's still an MPV at its core, at its heart. And speaking of ride, guys, well, I'm going through a not so perfect road. And that's another thing I noticed. Normally, when you're seated in the driver's seat, you wouldn't really feel how jarring the ride is, especially for the experience of the people at the back. The thing is, I noticed that this Rush is a bit jerky and a bit bumpy. You've got a pretty stiff suspension, stiffer than the other MPVs that I've driven. And I do believe, is this like a feature of Toyotas? Maybe because, you know, Toyotas are workhorses. And since Toyotas are workhorses, they need to have stiffer suspensions to be able to carry heavy loads. Yeah, that would probably explain it, most likely. But then yes, the suspension of this Rush is on the stiff side. That means that it won't bottom out if you have to carry a full load of 7 passengers. And that's also another advantage to this Rush. However, if you're just piloting it by yourself, like what I'm doing now, you would feel all the bumps, all the imperfections, and you'd be, it's like you're riding in a horse. Yeah, stylish looking horse, but still like a horse. Now, when it comes to NVH, well, I'm quite surprised that despite the jarring ride, the not so smooth ride of the Rush, the NVH levels is pretty decent. You are quite insulated inside the cabin. You don't really hear too much of the ambient noise outside. That's something that I've noticed with this Rush, and it's actually a good thing. It's nice to know that, you know, your passengers can sleep soundly inside your Rush as you take a long drive in your vehicle because, well, the NVH is pretty decent. It's actually as good as some of the crossovers that I've tested. So overall, guys, the Toyota Rush is a decent workhorse people hauler. That is its life purpose, and that is exactly what it is. If you're just a single person driving this vehicle, you'd really feel the stiffness of the suspension. But if you're driving it with the full load of 7 passengers, well then, it's gonna deliver the goods and deliver it well. It's not gonna bottom out. It's gonna be able to handle with confidence that amount of people. So yeah, as a daily driver that will haul a lot of passengers all the time, this Toyota Rush is a very decent MPV that looks as good as an SUV. So what sort of magic sauce does this Toyota Rush have that made it the 10th best-selling vehicle in the country in 2019? Well, it's a perfect combination of rugged looks, rear-wheel drive capability, 7 seats, and an affordable price point. It's got the basic amenities and features that makes it a decent daily driver, plus it has the safety features that you normally won't find in the MPV segment. And of course, it's a Toyota, and you're in the Philippines. Thanks for watching.